To start off, how did this project land in your lap? Like, what was the process when you were approached to work on the shoot for a little bit longer?
Yeah, well, at that point, I was shooting still lots of album covers and TV shows.
Mhm.
And my agent at the time, Karen Weiss, had been trying to get me in with Hollywood Records, which at the time was Dave Snow and Annie Jew are the main art directors there. I think they're both gone now for sure. Um, and they just, after meeting me a few times, they liked me. We'd never done a job yet, and they gave me probably their biggest money project of the year without ever working with me, which to me
Oh,
is it's crazy,
yeah.
honestly. But the band liked me. The band liked the other photos I'd done. I can't even remember what would have happened around that time. But there was a lot more magazines, so I was doing a lot of magazine covers that
Mhm.
might have had my profile up more then. A lot of Entertainment Weekly covers and Teen Vogue and YM and what else was around that time? Uh Nylon. I did a cover. So I don't know. I don't know why. To me, it's always kind of baffled me because it was like an $80,000 project. And it was
Wow.
the most money that Hollywood Records had spent on an album project for decades. But the Jonas Brothers at that time, that record was like they could do whatever they wanted, and record company just said yes, yes. What more do you want? And there was they never were demanding, but they wanted what they wanted, and I figured out how to do it,
Right.
which was so then those two guys gave me that job, and then over just lots of phone calls and emails, we figured out how much they wanted a ton of content from them. So we shot for 2 days, one day in the studio and then one day on location.
Mhm.
If you ever saw all those, there's one was at a an abandoned mansion in upstate New York with an empty pool, and that was on the third floor of this mansion or second floor, and huge ballrooms and grounds and three people bikes, the three all these dumb things these kids wanted, to be honest. But they were great. I never even met them until that day.
Oh,
And
wow.
but so the album packaging, the cover, the weird part about it was all these things when you get a job like that, I had no idea who they were. I
Mhm.
kind of knew who they were, but I didn't. To be honest, during the whole shoot, I thought Joe was like the more important character out of all of them when it
Mhm.
was actually Nick. And they
Mhm.
didn't tell me, no one told me that
Right.
until they did the shoot. And I kept putting Joe up front or more like a band, a three,
Yeah.
and right. And then um it's kind of weird because I never thought about it. Nick was so quiet,
Mhm.
but I've told him all this afterwards. I've had lunch with him and talked about the record and doing other projects with them, and they didn't. I'm like, yeah, Nick, I had no idea you were the heartthrob. Yeah,
Well, that's so interesting because that was also kind of one of my questions about um as far as like how they were positioned, and I'll get into that a little bit later, but another thing I'm really interested to know was through those emails and those phone calls, like what is kind of like consulting with them, like did they have the concept and was it your job to kind of build upon that? Like, was there a mood board? Like, what types of
now
visuals?
those, actually, we didn't do mood boards back then.
Oh,
Mood
wow.
boards are much more recent
Okay.
thing. It's because back then to pull together images from a mood board, the internet, we're talking how many years now? There wasn't as much imagery on the internet to
Right.
start putting everybody off. A mood board literally was Xeroxing, printing,
Mhm.
Xeroxing things, I think. Not that bad. We
Right.
didn't do a mood board. Basically, the story or the experience I distilled on how I got what they wanted to do and then where it went was I was shooting Phil Collins in my little studio in New York City for like a music magazine, and I got the phone call, and they were early, so I had to ask Phil Collins to wait. And I went into the stairwell of the studio, and it was pouring down rain outside. like really loud. But I was talking to all three of them and the art directors on a cell phone
Mhm.
in a dirty rat infested hallway of my crazy studio, while Phil Collins is just chilling out in the other room with his people going, what's going on? Anyhow, but they basically told me they wanted this, they want their cover of them to be them walking down a rainy Times Square in 1960s
Okay.
with like they're in Blade Runner with Blade Runner umbrellas.
Okay.
That's what they told me they wanted. So then that gave me like a starting point. That idea was their concept, and
Mhm.
they weren't sure how they would do it. So
Right.
the issue was, so I got that, I figured it out, and we talked about, they gave this long list of things to the art directors and then the producers of what they wanted in it.
Mhm.
Then I started immediately that night or the next day researching through stock and other things how we could produce that. So to get stock photographs, it just didn't look that great. I couldn't build this thing up because they wanted to be in the middle of almost empty Times Square in
Right.
the so then Gloss Productions was a really early CG studio
Mhm.
that we hired to do it. So we literally met for days before the shoot and decided what it was going to look like. And then in Cinema 4D and Maya, they started to construct a a Times Square that we could move up, down, change the perspective. But it was just like a wire frame, like you would do in the movies.
Right.
That's why it cost 80 grand.
Right.
It's because it was 40 grand just for that. There's another part that made it 40 grand. It could have been 25 maybe. Um the So I found literally went online and found Blade Runner umbrellas. You can still find them online. That the stick lights up and it's an umbrella. So I got three of those umbrellas, and in the top of the umbrella is a pro photo ring light. So it's up, tied up inside the umbrella. So that's where you see that light coming on. Like I haven't looked at that picture in a million years. That's right there.
Yeah, this is great.
Because the production of that image, a lot of crazy stuff went into that.
I can
Oh,
tell.
the Lost Manson. So there, all that is just shot on a big white site. All three of them together in their cute little outfits, and
Yeah.
I just had walking back and forth and doing that, and then we ultimately picked which ones we liked of each one, and got rid of all the wires.
Mhm.
But they're literally lit from the sides with some colors and a ring light in the umbrella, and
Wow.
then they're put into that image. Trying to find it.
Wow. That is that
That
is so cool because like looking at it now, I'm like, oh, okay, like I know in Photoshop I can do da 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 da, but I'm like in 2008, I know that that is not the resources that we can do at a wave of a hat, a wave of a wand is not like how it was in
Yeah,
2008.
like my other famous image is Mechanical Animals cover for Manson,
Mhm.
and that took a month to retouch three images. And
Whoa.
it wasn't even in Photoshop. It was a company called Barco
Mhm.
and a program called Squizzy, which had three little Asian girls come on every time you like little you go ee, and that would come up on the screen every time you open that application to move him a little bit to shape his body. Now you just use liquefy and boop, 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 be done instantly.
Right.
Where the freak is that photo? Oh, there it is. So on yeah, there they are. That so it looks really that's a great picture, man.
No, it really is.
Well,
Amazing.
there's all kinds of crazy things about it. Is that so the record was done.
Okay.
We did the shoot, and we were told we had 2 months to finish this thing. So
Right.
that's budgeted for. It wasn't 2 months, or was it a month? I'll get on my dates wrong, but I had to do the post production on this. I had a month,
Okay.
and at the end of the second day, there was all this kind of like concern about what was going on. They didn't want to tell me. And then they came up to me right when we're done. I'm all saying goodbye and we're hugging and they're like, wow. Because I had on the day of the shoot, I had the wireframe of the city to be able to rough Photoshop them into so
Right.
they could see it. And they're like, oh my God. So then they started giving me some ideas. I'm like, well, let's put on the movie theater this or that. So I built, like I had mocked in old photographs of Times Square from the 60s. And then we decided, well, let's not try to make it, there's other points about it, is that it's Times Square, but in reality, you look at it, it could be any it's a fantasy Times Square because
Right.
can't um you have to get permission from all the buildings. So that was the photographs.
Oh,
You have
wow.
to get permission from all the buildings, any kind of trademarks or anything. So to put on an album cover, these
Right.
are the things I knew about, but I couldn't imagine in a historical photograph because it could have looked very different.
Hmm.
They said they imagined it looking a lot more romantic and
Okay.
fuzzy. And then when I showed them what we had come up with, they were like, "Oh no, we can
Yeah.
really do this," because it was to them it was like, "Were you in CG from these guys are making movies and oh
Right.
yeah, yo yo." No, they didn't do that. I don't know if they said yo yo a lot. They're Christians at that time. I don't know what. Um, so then they told me we had like 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks to finish it, which cut it in 2/3. Like we had a third of the time, which we're like, what? And
Yeah.
even guys from Glass Productions that were there, Holga was like, well, the guys that are making this live in Berlin. And they're like, what? I didn't even know that
Yeah.
because I've never gone to the studio. I was just doing everything online, just sending stuff back and forth. Anyhow, so long story short, that tripled, quadrupled the price of the CG. We ended up, the solution was the two CG artists. Um, we just flew them over from Germany
Whoa.
and they came and lived in New York and worked in the studio so I could sit there and kind of babysit it. The other part is if you start looking at all the different signs in there,
Yes,
each
my
one of
favorite
those,
detail.
yeah, so each one of those signs is designed by a Maya or a Cinema 4D artist, not even the guys that are building the city, right? So I had to scour. Back then it was like Deviant Art and all these other sites, and I had to hire. I think I hired like 10 different guys just to make the wireframe models that would move with this thing in conjunction. So there was like in the end there was like 12 people working on this that fast. Okay, so then each one of these bits is um a song title, an inside joke. I couldn't get the boys to give me enough inside jokes because they're too shy. And so I went on the chat boards with all the little Jonas girls. And I was saying, I'm this old guy that's doing the so then I was getting people were calling the record company saying there's this creepy old guy wanting to get inside jokes about blah 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 about the Jonas Brothers, and then they would be like, "Is that you, Joseph?" And I'm going, "Yeah, I'm trying to get some. I'm really doing it." And they're like, "Oh my God, we're getting all these weird calls." Because if you go in there, there's things like Poon or not Poon. They had names for them, like weird names.
Like
Or
I
the
see like for Nike. That kind
yeah,
of like
oh
a
yeah, yeah. What does it say? What says like what? Like Poon or
something
like
with a P. I can't even.
Pong or so that's an inside joke. That's a thing,
Wow.
an inside joke. That's not. So there's so long story short, this every one of these buildings was covered almost every inch in signage, even on some of the tops, and they were in different languages as well.
Oh
But
wow.
we that right, and they were real. They were made by. They weren't gonna. There wasn't gonna have some derogatory thing in there in
Right.
Arabic. Right? So then when it got down, and this is layers. This is a Photoshop layer that if I open up that layer even now, it's
Oh my
600 DPI. It may take a long time to open it.
God.
I have a really big computer now. So if you look on to the left underneath the song title a little bit longer,
Yeah.
there's one Korean sign right there
Oh
that says
yes.
Korean. That's the only language that didn't get cut. So almost all these empty spaces that you see, which in the end I kind of like,
Mm-hmm. Same.
um, were different signs in different languages. And there were some signs they made me just put it into English. It was like the BB Good Theater or something, a restaurant. That's
Yeah.
their mom's restaurant. Like,
Wow,
there's
really?
that little restaurant sign, the blue and green one that's kind of to the left of the Korean sign.
Yeah,
That thing that says something that I can't see it on mine because it's not that big of it's a JPEG,
right.
but that's some kind of restaurant they're in. There's only like one. So the art director, any Jew at the time, we really ran, we were butting heads like crazy because she was like all over me. I'm like, I'm doing this as fast as I can.
Right.
And you know, she just was so nervous that she was going to lose. This is where it goes back to they hired a guy they never really knew, worked with, or met, and then gave him probably the most stressful job they ever had done to that point. And I had,
Right.
and I had a 3-year-old,
Whoa.
and I was doing other jobs. I did a movie poster around that time, and I was also going to. I had to fly to England to shoot a thing for Showtime. It was a very busy time in my life, and I had a 3-year-old. So I'm
I-
trying to think of some of the other jokes in here that are funny.
well, I noticed Frankie's,
Yeah,
the
spelled wrong.
brother, is
Frankie. Yeah, is
is
that?
the younger
That
brother.
yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right. Where's that at? Is that?
That's right above that Korean sign.
Oh, yeah. So that's his little restaurant or something. Yeah. So these are things after I started getting to the boys and to the heads of the thing. You have to remember that these guys at that point were really working nonstop. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, when you become a pop star like that, it's like catching you know, I don't know, lizards and what's it when they say when you get really fit, you just you don't understand about pop stars when they get to this level. There's
Yeah.
been a lot of work to get there, and all
Yeah.
of a sudden, the biggest thing in the world, it's like their time is so precious. They
Mm-hmm.
never stop working. I
Yeah.
mean, doing TV shows, radio things, 2-day photo shoots. Like
Right.
they're exhausted. And Nick, I didn't know he's got diabetes, right?
Right.
Insulin problems. So I bumped him on his back by accident. I thought he had a mic pack on. I go, "Oh, did I hit your mic pack?" And he's like, "Oh no, that's my little insulin thing that sticks
Right.
into me." I'm like, "You have to, oh really?" Because one of my relatives did. And he was like, "Yeah, at first I was kind of irritated by you because I was under a lot of pressure. And you made me
Right.
now. I'm
Rightfully
just
so.
15 years older." And but then I was like, "Oh no, one of our relatives is close relative. That's really great. And isn't that amazing that you can walk around with that on you now and blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "Oh, most people are like, ugh." I was like, oh my God, it was on a mic. Oh, it's really, oh, I knew about that. Anyway,
Yeah.
that was halfway through the shoot. And then but he loves me now. He said, "He can't believe how great this thing turned out." And he honestly, if they really wanted to put him up front because he was really the heartthrob, he
Right.
doesn't want to be up front. He didn't
Right.
want to be. He was surprised that he became the heartthrob.
Mm-hmm.
Anyhow, so he liked the fact that I mean, there was 800 mock-ups of how these guys were positioned in
Right.
this. I could make Joe be in the back.
Right.
You know, we're shot together and separately. But there was a lot of battle about doing singles of them because they were the management was scared that it would become Nick on the cover of the Jonas Brothers album. Who knows?
Well, I
But
think also
anyway,
to your point, the
yeah,
body language is so important. I think
yeah,
that that is such a significant part of the cover too. And I think even, I mean, like to the naked eye, you might not be able to notice, but because like if somebody who really studies this and has worked in the industry for a long time, like you can tell that that really brings out the personality of the subject.
yeah,
And I
yeah.
love that.
On that was I'm trying to maybe this was I can't remember which day it was, but the first day we met, it was at the studio. So that was the first day. And I had just shot a Jackass a poster,
Oh, well.
right? And I was showing them like, here, this is what I just did in this ridiculous. And they're like, "Oh my God." Like they were kind of disgusted by Jackass. And I said something off color and I realized, oh wait, I can't do that around these kids. Like
Yeah.
they're kids. But then when I was there, we were going to I came in and go, "Hey guys, we're gonna do our first shot, which is that neon that says Brothers. That was the first shot of the day.
Oh
It's the
yes.
first time I shot them. And they said they still have the neon. This was years ago. But
Whoa.
it was packed up to ship and it made it to wherever their house in Jersey or Connecticut or whatever. And now they put me in a prayer circle. So also I'm in a prayer circle with them. I'm like, what are we doing? Oh, I'm kind of looking there, all like, hey, it's gonna be a great shoot and everything. They're like, oh yeah, yeah, all right. It was
I
funny.
love
I've
that.
done I've done prayer circles with the Jonas Brothers.
That is such a goated
Yeah, yeah, I kind of goaded out on that one. That was
thing.
pretty cool. But it was fun. They're great. I mean, their family, they're all really great.
Yeah.
And they're a freaking family that made, and they're still got a huge fan base. They're still playing around. I saw that Nick is in some movies on Netflix right now that just came out. Or
I
maybe it's yeah, he's still doing it. They're still doing their thing.
And
Um,
I really love to hear that. It's so cool to like grow up and kind of have a new appreciation for these types of things because as a kid, I'm like, oh, Jonas Brothers. But now, like, as an adult, I'm like, okay, wow, wait, this is such an awesome album cover. And this was at the time where, we were kind of talking about this earlier, where they were really like in their true rock star era. Like they
But
were
they
like,
were brand new at that. They were a brand new sensation. And that's like I say, it's lightning in a bottle at that moment.
yeah,
You can't just go, let's take a vacation now. We made it. No, you made it. Now you got to work. They were getting, I went to one of their shows in San Diego. I
yeah.
was doing a shoot in LA and I went down with them and I went down on the bus with them from here to there. And they go, watch this. You're gonna love this. And they pull in with the bus and there's thousands of girls waiting for him, boys too. And it was hilarious. And they said, well, let's go, it was just Kevin and Joe. They went to the fence with the guards and said hi and signed some autographs. I have pictures of that somewhere. But I was there just to have fun. Now, so
Wow.
another weird, so if you look, so the technical things that are crazy about it is the CG of the ground looked horrible. And that floor, the majority of the floor is actual Times Square asphalt. The
So
majority
that's cool.
on rain. It rained and I ran out. I took the subway down to Times Square. So I don't know in the end how much it actually became. So there's the guys that were doing the CG, which was Glass Productions, and then there was my retoucher, Q Studios, Joe Girardi. He took this massive file and put it all together. And so did I. At that point, I became okay at moving things around.
Mhm.
Joe did all the retouching on them. So Joe basically put that image together in the end with all the other stuff. If you look, so here's the big thing, was going back and forth with images.
Right.
So and the other part is that there is moving, there is a moving version of this where it moves. So
Really?
if you buy the original CD, there's another CD or a CD-ROM, which I don't know how anybody would look at now, that
Whoa.
has this where all the lights come on and off. They blink and they blink. So if the love bug awning goes off, what it affects on the ground goes off as well.
Right.
So it's CG, it's all connected. So they all come on and off as to a song as well. You can see in the water on the ground their reflections. And that is a magic that Joe Girardi did.
That
Like,
is absolutely amazing.
so these are all things that your team, if you're nice to them, and I've worked for a lot of photographers and assistant, they were mean to everybody. So, and I realized that they you would get less out of people. You just have to be super nice, but they can see, I'm a nice guy. They see how stressed out I was. It was very stressful. But and the long story about me and Annie is that we only have 6 minutes left.
Yeah,
What
I'm
else?
gonna see if I could extend. I'm gonna extend this.
Yeah, it's like 10 more minutes. I gotta work. I should get to work. What else fun? So part of it is that as we get closer and closer to the deadline, they really wanted like an almost empty Times Square.
which is
somebody, record company, not
like,
even these, they were saying they won. There's no people. So we had to buy this program for whatever it costs to make all these little people, right? And then this is a 600 DPI file that I did a show where I blew it up to like 6 feet by 6 feet. And it's like looking into a window. It's like, it's real. The printers, when they were printing it, were going, wow, this is crazy. I've never seen such a detailed image. Like it's, and it was shrunk down to a CD. Now it's on my website. No one even pays attention to it.
dude, I do. I'm like,
Yeah, but there's all these little people in the background, and a lot of them have real detail. But then some people put in there like a Santa Claus guy, or like, a devil guy, because we were and they were messing around, and then that guy, and he like, we just found a devil guy. What are you doing? I'm going, I can't tell that there's a devil guy, and I found it, and I just got rid of the devil guy. So he's gone. I didn't know he was there. We're not depressed yet. But so when we rendered this file, it took 2 or 3 days. But
I was gonna say, I'm sure.
yeah, back then it's those big silver Mac towers, the old ones. They had two of them going at once at the same time in case one crashed.
I know it sounded like an airplane was about to take off.
Yeah, so it was a pretty crazy render, which I was like, well, we're done, right? And they go, no, we haven't even rendered it yet. And I'm going, what do you mean we haven't rendered it yet? What's that mean? I remember that conversation, and I'm sitting there with my ex at the time, with my baby in my lap, going, what the hell does render mean? And so
Wait,
then we'll get back to you in like 2 days. And it was but we had other images to retouch, so it wasn't like that. But
right.
what else is weird about this picture? Yeah, but they got rid of all those signs. That was bizarre. And it was like just some guy at Disney just said, we don't know what these signs mean. And the band wanted it to be a multicultural thing. They
Yeah.
wanted Japanese signs and Korean signs. There was like one Arabic one in there, and it wasn't like Dutch or anything, or German. It was mainly Asian signs. We don't know what they say for sure. We don't want to spend time to do it. Just get rid of them. And in the end,
Mm.
the Korean sign stayed. I don't know what the Korean sign says. My ex was Korean, so she might know. I don't think so either, because she can't read Korean.
Yeah. I love
She
the
probably.
international aspect of it. Love that. Love
Yeah,
that. That.
but that was, that's all early digital. This is all shot on a 30 plus back, which is like, that's 30 megapixels. That's not a massive back. Like you look on my site, the
Mhm.
image to the black and white silhouette of them,
Yeah.
that's the camera screwed up.
Whoa.
So when it came into the computer, however it processed it, the picture, Nick ended up on the left side. He's actually on the right side of the frame, and they're all sitting there doing that, right?
Mm.
So that was a technical glitch that I loved. See, what's great about rock stars like this is that at a certain point they just let you do what you want to do, because
Mhm.
I was invested in this. I appreciated that they wanted me to do that. So I just started feeding them images, and they like that abstractness of it. Because we originally were doing that because they wanted to be jumping up as like their help, like the Beatles help. And there's an
Yeah.
image of that. I don't know if it's on the site.
Oh, that would be super
And
cool.
there's the neon one. There's a lot of neon ones of the brothers where it's just them standing in front of that neon sign, or it looks cool. But I did this graphic crunchy thing of them, and that became like tour posters. And then what else is weird about it? Is there where's the one of so there's the one funny story is there's pictures of them with goldfish bowls, and
Oh,
that's not in the right.
is that on your site? The photo with the
I don't see the goldfish bowls. I'll find it somewhere
Okay.
and say.
Okay, thank you.
The goldfish kept dying,
Oh my gosh.
and we were like in upstate New York, so they had a race, and there would be no, we want it to be alive, but you don't want it to be fake, and like you need to get another goldfish. This is behind the scenes. I'm like, were you guys really pulling that kind of shit? And going, well, we were like, why is the goldfish sign gone? This is afterwards. No one, when I'm doing these things, they try to protect me, because
Hmm.
I've got 8 million things happening. something like this. On other shoots, people come up can say, hey, Teeny doesn't like her hair. And I go, hey, let's change her hair. But it's like the big room shot of them. I remember kind of going, this whole thing is orange and yellow. Nick, don't wear a red satin. Can you not wear the red satin? And he's like, no, I want to wear the red satin. I'm like, this is near the end of the shoot. Everyone was getting kind of cranky. But
Yeah.
it's just they were wanted more and more and more and more images. And where's that ridiculous shot? Is it on here? The big chandelier room? Oh, where'd it go?